Ladies and gentlemen in the conference, welcome to My Cup of Coffee, Coffee Quality Testing, The Wonder of Human Senses. Thank you for participating in the webinar. My name is Yvonne Binonza Francis, Semester 5 Food Science and Technology undergraduate student, and I am your moderator for today. I am pleased to announce that currently we have 103 participants together in this webinar session. We have participants from various institutions of Malaysia, of course, mainly from UITM, UKM, UMS. We also have participants from abroad such as Indonesia as well as Turkey. Thank you all for making your time to be with us today. Now, let us begin this event with the recitation of dua that will be led by Hairul Amri.
Amri, do you hear us? Because we cannot hear your voice. I'm sorry everyone, there's a problem with Tyrell Amri mic, so Yvonne, please proceed the webinar. Thank you.
Alright. Before I hand over the webinar to our honorary speaker, Dr. Insigne Misnawi Jati, let me start off with an introduction for the speaker. Misnawi Jati was born on 6 June 1966 in Jember, East Java, Indonesia. He graduated with a bachelor's degree from the Faculty of Agriculture in Muhammadiyah Jember in 1990. In November 1999, he joined with the Faculty of Food Science and Biotechnology, University Putra Malaysia, for his Master of Science and PhD degree in Food Chemistry and Biochemistry. He graduated in May 2003. With 34 years of experiences in coffee and research and development, he has published more than 90 articles related to his works in international and national scientific journals and in conference proceedings. He is a senior researcher at the Indonesian Coffee and Cocoa Research Institute, ICCRI, Indonesia. He has received 6 awards related to his work in area of coffee and cocoa researches. Today, since June 2020, Dr. Insigne Misnawi Jati is the Senior Executive Vice President of the Indonesian Research Institute for Estate Crops. From the year 2017, 2020, he was an expert member of the International Cocoa Organization ICCO on fine flavored cocoa, representing the Asian Pacific cocoa producers. As of 2019, he is the chairman of the scientific board of ICCRI after previously appointed as the director of the same institute from 2015 to 2018, head of Cocoa Research Institute from 2013 to 2015, head of Research Division from 2012 to 2013, and head of Post-Harvest Technology Department from 2010 to 2013. Now, I am pleased to invite Dr. Insinu Misnawi Jati to deliver the presentation on coffee quality testing, the wonder of human senses. Over to you, Dr. Misnawi.
Yes, thank you Yvonne. Thank you Nurul yang saya hormati, yang saya respect, Ibu Dr. Fadilah Jelani, as well as our colleagues, especially in Malaysia, maybe some lecturers, even maybe from their home. Juga para student from UITM, UPM, USM, and other universities in Malaysia, as well as our colleagues of Indonesia. Thank you for this opportunity to join some experience, some knowledge on coffee sensory especially. And we are happy and lucky for today. I am accompanied by our colleagues from Indonesian Coffee and Cocoa Research Institute. They are Mr. Andi Darmawan. I hope that today he also gives some share his experience in cupping and also some experience in training. He is a cupper and barista trainer of cafe in Indonesia. For today, I also accompanied by our colleagues. She's also ever visiting UITM 2 years ago, I think. Miss Arisa, she is cocoa and chocolate couple, a sensory evaluator. He is representing Asia Pacific, succeeding me, including representing Malaysia, Indonesia, Philippines, and Thailand, as well as other countries in Asia Pacific in the ICCO. So they are all experienced person in the area. For today, I will give some presentation. I hope that you will enjoy and can get some science insights, some experience maybe can be developed for you in the faculty or even in the business, for example. Let me start with sharing my my presentation. Okay. Okay, I will give you a presentation concerning cafe cupping, as explained by Yvonne that cupping is now growing up very fast recently, especially in the past 20 years. Why we can look at here that oh sorry, my presentation. Oh.
Yes, Pak Miss, we cannot see the slide.
Okay, my presentation will be in two parts. The first part is concerning general overview of coffee cupping, and then at the second part, we will explain you, share with you concerning the technical aspect of the coffee cupping. Maybe at the second part is most area of Mr. Andy. We start with the history. When we talk about coffee, I think in Malaysia, in Indonesia, as well as I heard some student or person from Turkey, well known that coffee is like a part of a human being. Before 10th century is the first discovery of coffee plant in Ethiopia. Some researchers, some writers said that coffee coming from Arabian area. A person called Mr. Kaldi was the first person who knew the coffee from their field. And then at 1683 is the first coffee shop in the world established in Vienna. And then at the 18th century, the first experiment on the health aspect of coffee as a pleasure and pain of coffee. Coffee is having a lot of aspects related to the health. Maybe this is another aspect. Maybe one day we can talk about this aspect. And then move to 1882, Cafe and Exchange first opened in New York. Yeah, Cafe now become as an economic value commodity. Yeah, all over the world. And then after that, sorry, I have to move the picture. And then during World War II, cafe then affected by the consumption because there is a war, then decreased by about 50%. So this is the decay of coffee. But and then we have another milestone that in 1970 Starbucks was established, and then this has become the most development of the coffee all over the world. In 1999, the first cafe competition was open. Yeah, we call it Cup of Excellence. We give the prizes as the Oscar of coffee. And now after 2000, we start what we call the third and the fourth generation of specialty coffee. This is the milestone of coffee all over the world. Now let's look at the wave. Yeah, some people, some researchers, some experts said that in the consumption of beverage, not only coffee, we have what we call the wave of consumption. The first wave, and then second wave, and then the third wave having a different characteristic. At the first wave, the people in consuming the beverage, especially focus on the satisfactory. That's called as based on the quality. And then at the second wave, the people more focus on the lifestyle. And now, since 2010 and so on, some people said after millennial generation, consumption of beverage become an art and science. This is the revolution of beverage consumption all over the world. Ladies and gentlemen, if we talk about the coffee pulses, we have 4 sensation wave of coffee. For beverage, we have 3 waves, and then in coffee, we already have 4 waves. The first wave we call sensation of refreshing drink. This is for coffee, and then the second is sensation of taste, most on the brewing coffee. And the third is the sensation of curiosity of origin of coffee. That's why there is a lot of work on certification, for example, certificate of origin and so on. And the fourth is the sensation of coffee is sensation of coffee as a lifestyle. That's what most people people adopt on the sensation of wave coffee. But some experts already realized and stated that now cafe is not only a lifestyle, but it's also an art and science. That's why there are a lot of barista training, barista exhibition, and so on. Here is, I would like to give you a little bit figures. Yeah, in the right side, you can have how coffee become popular, how coffee become a part of life because of the quality, yeah, and then popularity, and then inaugural. That's why role of influencer become important, and then also how government push development of coffee. For example, in Indonesia, when our president showing a lot of interest in coffee in his home, in daily activities, then coffee become more popular. A lot of young generation involved in that. That's why also there are a lot of festival. Mr. Andi involved in a lot of coffee festival, either in Indonesia or in the in overseas. At the left side, I am remembering teh tarik in Malaysia. There is a competition of teh tarik when I was in UPM. But here is 2 years ago when I was in Ceko. There is an exhibition of cafe barista. In other way of usual, you can say that to prepare coffee, there is a exhibition. Yeah. When I was in Malaysia, teh tarik, I think teh tarik become popular all over the world because of Malaysia give a lot of attention in the performance of teh tarik. In the coffee, not only in the production country, but also in the consuming country, also showing the performance of cafe barista, especially that's become factor contributing to the popularity and business of coffee, especially by millennial generation. In the conclusion of the promotion, for example, so we can conclude that actually the value of coffee affected by two factors. Actually, 80% is by publication and promotion, including competition, including barista, including cafe and so on. The rest is intrinsic quality, that is actually only 20%. But this is the basis. We have to have a good quality first, and then completing with a promotion and publication. So that's become a good of coffee business. I can give an example. The same quality of coffee, let's say with the prices of in Indonesia for Arabica, for example, with only 50,000 rupiah. That's I don't know in now not really not really reflect how many in ringgit or in US dollar. Let's say in US dollar that only $2, but when we use the publication and promotion, the $2 can be 20, can be 25, or even more than $35. That's the factors of publication and promotion. So as a scientist or student, we have to realize in this. We don't need only to think about the intrinsic quality, that is physical, color, taste, and so on. But we have to also consider the promotion and publication. Let me talk about the quality of the coffee as a attribute to the price. we can describe that theoretically there are three attributes of the quality. The first is intrinsic quality, that is material attribute. Quality intrinsic, that is the raw material, and then symbolic the quality, how we promote, how we give the brand of the coffee and so on. And the third is in-person quality, that is barista, for example, in coffee. Here is an example of Starbucks. What Starbucks sell? Actually, the Starbucks sell not only the coffee, but they sell the material, of course, of coffee, the aroma, the preparation of the specific processing, specific roasting, and so on. But they also sell the trademark, decoration, certified organization, and so on. That also the person atmosphere in person service, that is barista and so on. So this is the value of coffee now. That is different from the 18th century, 19th century, that most focus on the material of the coffee. I think this is a basic knowledge not only for coffee, but also for some beverage, including cocoa, including tea, tobacco, and so on. This is the basic. What we do. But what we do in Indonesia, I think Malaysia also have a potential for this. Also, although I know that in Malaysia not much coffee, only in a certain part. Especially coffee in Malaysia is a little bit kawan, Excelsa, Liberica, but not much in Arabica, maybe some Robusta. But for Indonesia, we have a lot of specialty coffee. Yeah, and then my opinion for Malaysia, I think Malaysia have to focus on the specialty coffee as well as for cocoa. For example, we need to move to a specialty cocoa, or what we call fine flavor cocoa. Maybe after this, Arisa can give some opinion on this, because the value of the coffee is very different between regular coffee and specialty coffee. The price can be 2 times, 3 times, 5 times, and so on. It depends on the quality and how we promote the coffee. And then specialty coffee also related to the cafe established by young generation, by millennial generation. I think uh, uh, some cafe in Malaysia also already provide specialty coffee. Some coming from Indonesia, like Java coffee, Mandalay coffee, and also from other countries coffee like Colombian coffee as well. So this is the importance of the brand and quality. Here an example how we can describe from one coffee to other coffee. We talk now only coffee, not in the promotion. Now we are moving to the cup quality. Actually, every coffee planted at a certain area have its special taste. Here we can describe, for example, not Sumatran coffee, where in North Sumatra already a lot of specialty coffee. It specialty coffee, but in general, coffee of Sumatra is like in the figure. They have a good fragrance, good overall, but less in acidity, not so high. But the coffee have like sweetness. How we describe it is sweetness or sweet because of sugar. It is different. That's why sensory evaluation become important. It is not mean that we want to have a sweetness of coffee, then we put sugar. No, not like this. But that's internal sweetness of coffee. Then that's give us an an overall complexity of the flavor. This is what we call flavor that only be tested by sensory, cannot be replaced by a machine. Like, okay, we have let's say GCM, SMS, and so on, but that instrument only can help the sensory evaluation done by human cannot be replaced by only instrument, because complexity is a preference of the human sensor. Java, for example, different, but not mean that Java, because have a lower fragrance, lower flavor, is lesser of less quality than Sumatra. No, but this is a characteristic. So I think this is the opportunity for us. Like in Malaysia, let's say if we want to have a certain coffee, then we plant the coffee and make it a good quality, and then we evaluate that the specificity, then that's become our value for marketing. How flavor is expressed in the market and in the specific description. Some people using what we call it certificate. Yeah, a lot of institution provide certificate. This is an example of the certificate expressed by CQI, Cafe Quality Institute. This is then an institute that doing cupping and then give a certificate, the description of the sample. That's an example. So the score is 81, for example. And then what's mean of 81? 81 is because some criteria is almost 100. Yeah, almost 100. It is 80 of 100. The coffee can be classified as specialty coffee if the value of overall score is more than 80. If 81 can be promoted as a specialty, and then we look at the specificity of the coffee. Indonesian Cafe Institute also give a certificate for a lot of Indonesian coffee and become a screener of specialty coffee in Indonesia. So we also have provide the final score of the coffee we tested. And then how to do testing of this coffee, we can learn this one later. This is an example of some coffee in Indonesia provide in the world. Now we look at how we can come up with the coffee testing. Actually, coffee testing is to measure the result of the coffee after previously processing. The output or the final sensation of coffee was influenced by raw material at the left side in the number 1, that is acrome and raw material of the coffee beans. That's also influenced the quality of the cup. And then next step is the processing, especially roasting. Yeah? In the roasting, we will have some flavor component that influence the cup quality of the coffee. During cupping, that is the most important, how to express all of the processing and then become a complexity of the coffee. That's in the step of what we call coffee brewing. So the first is acrome and processing. The second is a roasting process, and the third is brewing. It is different from coffee cupping and coffee drinking. Later I will explain you. Now, how about the raw material? Raw material, we have maturity of the beans. We can describe here that from unripe until overripe, there is a development of the flavor. Yeah, unripe usually have a less flavor and also some defect flavor such as creamy, such as what we call sometime woody and so on. And then the flavor develop until fully matured. But if the harvesting we we let the fruit until overripe, the flavor quality also decrease. So this is the agronomy factor that we have to control. Beside its agronomy in terms of fertilizer, coffee variety, we have a lot of variety in the group of Arabica, Robusta, and as well as Excelsa. So this is have to be maintained, have to be controlled during the pre-harvest. And then the second is how we process the bean. We can process into a lot of model of the processing. We have what we call a wet process with hulling, a wet process, wet hulling, a wet process, dry hulling, and so on. So this is a different type of processing. Those also affecting the quality of cup at the final state. Now, during roasting, there are a lot of reaction. I think you are as a member of university know well about Maillard, about Stecker degradation, caramelization, and so on. So this is this reaction influence the flavor of coffee. For example, in the Maillard reaction, there are involvement of reducing sugar and nitrogen compounds as a precursors of aroma, and then after roasting, after reaction, it will be produce decathlon, pyrazine, thiazole, and so on. This is at the right side is the product of the reaction where the precursors are coming from from processing and plantation, from agronomic activities. During roasting, there are a lot of process there. Physically, there are dehydration, caramelization, thermal tenderization, bean development, and also degassing. That's what happened during roasting of the coffee beans. During roasting, if you look at the innate surface of the coffee bean, we can look at from the left side to the right side that coffee bean become more brittle. The more intense of the roasting, the more brittle of the bean. Yeah, but we also have to describe that the quality of the cup also improve and then reduce significantly at the end of the roasting. At the next slide, we can look at here. During roasting, what happened? The red color is the acidity. Yeah, acidity is not in the bean, but at a certain amount. If we roast the bean, first acidity will increase and then reduce again. Also aroma, the blue one, yeah, the blue one, the B, the blue one improve and then reduce, and so on. And also sweetness and the green one is sweetness and kekantalan in and body also move up and then decrease. And the last is bitterness. Bitterness increase as long as the intensity of roasting increase. That bitterness. But you have to remember that drinking coffee or enjoying coffee is not only a bitter, but also the most important is the complexity of the flavor. People and then make what we call make evaluation by using what we call flavor wheel. Flavor is developed by Specialty Coffee Association. Previously, we call it as Specialty Coffee Association of America, but now become Specialty Coffee Association. So maybe you cannot read it, yeah, as well as my eyes. I had to use glasses, but you can read later. Actually, if you are stuck by yourself as a couple, you will learn from the center. The most competent, the most skilled you, ya, semakin bagus as you increase your skill, your competence, you will can describe every single type of the flavor at the outer side. So don't worry if at the beginning you only have bitter, sweet, sour, and so on. So at the small description, but later, as long as you learn and try apa namanya, have a lot of experience, you will have more skill in describing the coffee. Ladies and gentlemen, you have to distinguish between drinking coffee and sensory taste. It is totally different. It is necessary to understand that it is not a hedonic, I like this coffee, I dislike this coffee, and so on. But we in the coffee sensory is how to describe, how to evaluate the overall sensory of coffee. And then, as I mentioned before, that it is only can be described by our saraf, our saraf, ya, our nerve cannot be described by lihat, by air, by instrument, and so on. But the especially can be described by our sensory nerve. Now let still have a time. I think I have to stop at 10:45. Yeah. Now how to have cupping. This is what we call cafe cupping protocol. This is if you want to have a deeper knowledge on this, you can discuss with us, especially with Mr. Andy. But I will give an overall. So this is the protocol developed by some institution, including by ICRI. The objective is to describe the character of the coffee flavor, to know the quality of the coffee, and to test the uniformity of the tested sample. It is not to know I like this, I don't like this. It is not like or dislike, yeah, but it is to describe overall of the coffee quality. This protocol especially referred to the Special Coffee Association, even some part have a modification. So what we have to do is the analysis sensory step by step. Yeah, I think you can learn from this. We have to have some preparation, some instrumentation, some equipment, including roaster. You have grinder, I think, in your laboratory in Malaysia, in Turkey, Indonesia. You have this. Actually, not must be like it, but the principle like this. Roaster, for example, you can have another type of roaster, but the most important is the temperature can be adjusted. And the result must be uniform. So this is the requirement. And then you have to have a room to do the evaluation, something like this. You can put some instrumentation surrounding your sensory evaluation. This is just an example of the model. And then the most important is you have to have a panelist. Yeah, panelists must be trained, and then have to have a basic requirement. Yeah, the panelists should have to shoot high capability and sensitivity to test and consistency. ICRI have a protocol how to test someone. It is whether he is capable atau has a good basic sensory nerve to evaluate a coffee or not. And then he has to have a portfolio as a trained panelist. Yeah, you can have it. If one day you want to what we call, you want to have a train, you can contact Mr. Andy or me. Then maybe we can provide. Yeah, Mr. Andy has experience how to train by using during pandemic by online training. Yeah, even 2 or 3 months ago, we have a competition all over the world by using a media of online competition all over the world. So Mr. Andy and Mrs. Arisa have experience on that. So the requirement is like in the slide, being confident, stable, and calm, not emotional, yeah, and then not smoke or eat at least 30 minutes before before testing and so on. So not also not use like perfume and so on. So sorry. And then the instrument is like this. I think I have given this presentation. You can learn after, yeah. But after this, we can have a discussion, and then you have to roast the bean like in the figure. Yeah, there are a lot of type roasting. First, I want to tell you first, like Arabic type of roasting, usually at the temperature of 120. That usually the flavor will be like a cinnamon taste. Yeah, less than that we have a green bean. Yeah, green. Yeah, like mentah. And then we have a degree of brown. Yeah, this is usually we call as American type of roasting. Usually apa namanya the taste is not well developed yet. But the best is when the coffee is at the dark brown color with the city and full city degree of roasting. It is also different from roasting for consumption and roasting for sensory. This is roasting for sensory. If you are roasting for consumption, you can select Italian, French, or French, because by roast more intense, you will have more intense flavor, but at the same time, usually you will lose the small quantity of defect, small of quantity of character, and so on. So this is the difference. Okay, so this is also after that you can grind to do, and then you put the water. Yeah, I think the procedure, even this is in Bahasa, you can translate it into English. I think for Malaysia not need to translate because this is similar, because I ever been there. It is 80% of the Bahasa is similar. Yeah. Then you do the evaluation like in the figure. Yeah, you can shop. Yeah, the coffee. Yeah, maybe one day I suggest Dr. Fadila to arrange maybe sensory training, preliminary sensory training can be done by our team with UITM, for example. Okay, and so on. So for the sensory procedure, sensory acquisition, you can learn from my slide. Or you, if you need more information, you can contact me or contact Mr. Andy for further training, for example, or explanation. And then we can also arrange what we call online training for this. Thank you, and I send back to Yvonne or Nurul. Thank you. Halo Nurul,
Pak Ane, Pak Miss, Ivan,
ya, sorry. And
how,
now question and answer.
is Pak Andi and Kang Ariza want to talk something?
Okay. Let us ask them to introduce himself and give a brief description. Mr. Andi first. Andi.
Ya, halo Pak.
Yeah. Please give some brief information concerning cafe quality assessment by sensory, maybe the importance of the sensory. Okay, time is yours, Mr. Andi, for about 5 minutes or less.
Satu, kalau dari mewah, ya salah satunya.
Andi?
Oke, iya Pak.
Ya, silakan Anda beri gambaran mengenai sensory evaluation di IKRI atau pengalaman Anda. Silakan. 5 menit cukup.
Oh ya Pak.
Ya. Sharing.
Baik sebelum ya. Baik, pakai bahasa Indonesia saja nggak apa-apa ya Pak ya?
Nggak apa-apa bahasa Indonesia ada apa. I think in bahasa is
Oke.
also ya. For someone who are in Turkey and not in bahasa, please record and then use Google Translate ya. Silakan Andi.
Oke. Baik, terima kasih atas waktu yang diberikan. Terima kasih, selamat pagi menjelang siang semuanya. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Iya, perkenalkan sebelumnya saya Andi Darmawan. Ya, lebih tepatnya ini sebagai peneliti di Pusat Penelitian Kopi dan Tahu Indonesia. Jadi tadi yang disampaikan oleh Pak Misnawi ini sebagai cup tester dan barista training itu seperti job sampingan. Karena fungsi salah satu peneliti itu kan ada unsur pengabdian masyarakat. Jadi kalau peneliti di kopi, ya tentunya harus punya keterlibatan dalam pengabdian kepada masyarakat. Karena kalau di kopi ya berhubungannya dengan minum kopi gitu ya, dengan dari sudah disampaikan oleh Misnawi, ya berarti mau nggak mau harus bisa juga sebagai orang kantor maupun tester gitu ya, seperti itu. Nah, untuk perkembangan kopi-kopi yang ada di Indonesia sendiri tadi sudah disampaikan bahwa Indonesia punya 35 specialty kopi, yakni baik robusta maupun arabica. Jadi sudah sangat kaya sebenarnya kopi ya ada di Indonesia. Jadi kalau incicipi atau merasakan variasi cita rasa kopi,
Cik Andi,
nah itu
kurang jelas dengan suaranya. Kami dengar
silakan,
sekat-sekat.
Ya.
Oh ya, ya.
Mas Andi, Andi videonya dimatikan enggak apa-apa. Kayaknya sinyalnya kurang baik.
Siap.
Ya,
Oke,
sekarang
baik.
ya.
Iya, jadi silahkan buat teman-teman dari yang ikut berpartisipasi di acara ini bisa sama-sama mengeksplor ya, mengeksplor keanekaragaman cita rasa Indonesia.
Oke, thank you
Di
Andi.
pusat.
Ya. Ya. Oke, Mas Andi, terima kasih ya. Walaupun tidak terlalu jelas, saya bisa terjemahkan that he is happy to have further collaboration or further sharing in Indonesia or in Malaysia, because sensory is a passion for a researcher, for example. So cukup ya Mas Andi ya. Nanti kalau apa namanya, kalau ada yang mau bertanya nanti bisa WA atau email ya. If there is a question or whatever, then we can send it directly to Andi by WhatsApp or email. No problem. Or even you can send to me and then I deliver to him. Berikutnya, maybe Ibu Arisa, do you have a better connection, Ibu Arisa?
I hope so. I'm using mobile data right now.
Yes.
Do you hear me clearly?
Yes.
Yes, we can hear you.
Yes. Thank you, Nurul. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.
Waalaikumsalam.
Please introduce. My name is Ariza. I am a researcher in the post-harvest division of Indonesian Coffee and Cocoa Research Institute. And I've been here this is my 12th year. And then I'm working mostly on cocoa. I was part of the coffee panel, but lately I've been working heavily on cocoa. So I think if you have questions about coffee, Andy is the right person to answer. Yeah. So maybe next time if you want to have discussion about cocoa, I will be available. Thank you.
Okay, thank you, Bu Arisa. Yeah, Bu Arisa has ever been in UITM with me 2 years ago, I think, with Dr. Zaibunisa. We have some colleagues there. We have also some students there. Some already graduated, but some is still there. Okay. Thank you, Bu Arisa. And don't move if there is some question, and then I need your help to. Let's say to answer, then I will pass to you. Okay, Nurul, I send back to you. I also, I don't know whether directly to answer some question from chat or maybe some participant want to ask directly by their Webex. I send back to Nurul.
All right, thank you, Pak Mis. Actually, we have time until 11:15, but Pak Mis wrapped up earlier than we expected. So I think, Yvonne, we can continue with the Q&A session.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, I start to answer this what we call this question from, maybe after that still there are other question we can answer, or as I mentioned, maybe want to directly give a question or comment on this. First question coming from Gede Pasek Mako. I know he is coming from University Dharma in Bali. So we're happy to have you here from Bali. How we can produce coffee product with a good quality flavor and safe to drink, as well as can accepted by consumer? This is a good question. Yeah? This is overall of my presentation, I think. Yeah. To answer this, I think we have to look at the step of coffee express their flavor. The final expression of coffee is coming from the previous step. So at the agronomy, at the field, we have to make sure that we plant the appropriate variety. Let's say if you want to produce Arabica, you have to plant at the high elevation. Let's say at 1,000 meter above sea level, for example, and then you have to maintain. You have to what we call to produce the coffee with the good agricultural practices. You have to put fertilizer. You have to control their pests, and then you have to harvest ripe fruit only, as I mentioned before, because there is what we call there is a journey of flavor during the ripeness. After that, you have to process coffee bean properly, and then you have to roast the bean also at the appropriate condition, and then you have to grind and set as the as the final. You have to brew the ground coffee. If you do this, you will have a good quality. But among the good quality, you will have a specific quality. Your coffee in Bali cannot be replaced by a coffee from, let's say, from Java or from Sumatra, because every single origin coffee will express their specificity. So that's in general. So every single step you have to control as SUP, as standard good practices. Okay, that's my answer. Then if you have you want to have a specific test, you can do testing as we learned today. You have to test to make a sensory everything of your every single places, every single model of the processing. From Fatin Idris, what make the quality bean to be sold high price? This is a good question. Yeah, this is a lot of question like this from Indonesian millennial generation. Yeah, because as I mentioned before, the price of well-known, famous specialty coffee the price can be high, can be 5 times higher than others. Why? Because as I mentioned, there are three. Yeah, there are two big group, or finally we can describe three factors. The first, as asked by Mr. Gede, we have to prepare our coffee and the high quality and specific quality, as the question from Mr. Gede. The second, you have to promote your coffee. Ya, tidak bisa hanya diam. You have to promote your coffee. This is, let's say, this is what is this is Cameron Highland coffee, for example, ya, in Malaysia. This Cameron Highland coffee, and then you have to promote every every ceremony. Also politician, influencer, we have to promote, and then now your coffee will be known. And then you also have to publish at every publication, scientifically, famously, and so on. By using this combination, your price will be much higher. We have experience with the cafe near Pak Gede place. We call it Kopi Kintamani. 20 years ago, no one know about Kintamani coffee. The price is at that time was only about the same with the Robusta one. Yeah, at that time the price is about 20,000 rupiah per kg. But after we improve their quality and then we promote, then the coffee price become higher, even higher than Colombian coffee. The price can be 5 times, 4 times higher than before. That is why in my presentation I said that 80% the value of the price is coming from promotion and publication, but the quality only 20%. Even that one must be like a pre-request, prasyarat, pre-request of the good quality bean coffee. The next question is from Anis Humaira. Does the calories variant within the type of coffee? Yes, but small variation. But we have to remember, Miss Anis there, that someone drink coffee not for calorie consideration, not for nutrition. Someone drink coffee as for favor, for enjoy. Yeah, it is different. I can give example for you. When you have come to the restaurant, then you select nasi lemak, nasi apa yang famous di Malaysia kah, you will consider about the nutrition, about the calorie and so on. But if you come to the Starbucks, you come to Illy Coffee or you come to certain coffee shop, in your mind is the flavor of coffee. Yeah. So the calorie is not so important for coffee lover, for coffee apa namanya consumer. That's more on the flavor. Yeah, but also as I mentioned that the calorie is different. Also, usually for the coffee, some people are more concerned about the caffeine. Caffeine in coffee also different, depend on the variety, depend on the elevation, and depend on the apa namanya, on the processing and as well as on the apa how to brew. Arabica coffee usually less caffeine rather than Robusta one. Yeah, that's the different chemically different from among varieties. And then number four. What is the difference between cold brew and hot brew? Yeah, depend based on the what we call on the word. It can be described that brewing using cool water and then the other one is by hot water. But this is of course will have different type of flavor. Chemically, if you brew in the cold, certain compound will dilute, and then you can enjoy it, and still there. But in the hot brew, a lot of compound can be diluted, but some evaporated to the environment. Maybe on this, I would like to ask, I don't know whether Andy is still here. What is the characteristic of cold brew and hot brew result? Anyway, before I pass to Andy, number 5, why every coffee have different aroma and taste? Yes, this is a good question as a scientist. This is a question for a scientist. As I mentioned before, that aroma or flavor coming from precursors. Precursors depend on the processing and the origin of the coffee. So this is that is why every single of coffee, every different of metabolism of the coffee have different precursors, either in apa namanya, in the kind or in the quantity. That is why its taste become different. I think let me I don't know, Mr. Andy, could you answer number 4? If you are not available, I will ask Mrs. Arisa. Andy?
Iya, iya,
Andy
Ya.
is available.
iya, kedengeran.
Ya, oke. Apa bedanya
Iya.
Mas Andi, cold brew dan hot brew?
Iya, jadi untuk bedanya cold brew dan hot brew itu ada beberapa perbedaan. Yang pertama intinya dari cara penyeduhan itu adalah suhu air yang digunakan. Jadi kalau misalkan menggunakan hot brew, nah itu lazimnya biasanya suhu seduhannya antara 70 sampai 90 derajat Celcius. Tapi kalau cold brew ini biasanya dipakai dengan suhu ruang ya, suhu udara lingkungan, atau memang juga menggunakan air es. Nah, tentunya nanti dalam hal teknik penyeduhannya juga akan berbeda. Jadi kalau hot brew itu kita sebut dengan ekstraksi cepat. Kalau cold brew itu kita sebut dengan ekstraksi lambat. Jadi walaupun menggunakan katakanlah air dingin, kopi masih bisa tetap terekstraksi, tapi ekstraksinya jadi lambat. Nah, nanti pengaruhnya ke cita rasa masing-masing cold brew dan hot brew. Yang ketiga ya, itu juga dia punya taste tersendiri. Jadi kalau cold brew itu kalau kita gambarkan cita rasanya itu identik seperti aroma wine. Jadi karakteristik rasanya itu cenderung keras. Seperti acidity-nya itu terlalu high, kemudian dia itu juga punya body yang high, kemudian taste flavornya juga dia sangat dominan sekali gitu. Nah itu itu beberapa karakteristik perbedaan antara cold brew dan hot brew. Nah untuk cold brew sendiri saya lebih spesifik menjelaskan bahwa tekniknya macam-macam. Teknik penyeduhannya ini macam-macam. Ada yang disebut dengan cold brew. Jadi istilahnya dia penyeduhan dinginnya dengan menggunakan tetesan air dingin. Itu kisaran waktunya ada yang sampai bisa untuk dapat 1 gelas, 1 cup sekitar 150 mili itu bisa sampai 3 jam, ada yang sampai 12 jam, bahkan ada yang sampai 24 jam. Nah, itu seperti itu. Ada juga yang menggunakan caranya dengan macerasi. Macerasi itu jadi maceration ya. Jadi dia itu sama penyeduhan awalnya menggunakan air panas, tapi kemudian dia nanti didinginkan. Nah, itu juga ada yang dengan cold brew seperti itu. Tapi lazimnya biasanya yang disebut dengan cold brew itu teknik penyeduhannya adalah dengan cold drip. Jadi dengan tetesan air dingin seperti apa namanya? Orang yang lagi diinfus, orang sakit yang lagi diinfus, nah sistemnya seperti itu. Jadi memang untuk cold brew ini dia proses ekstraksinya termasuk ekstraksi lambat, tapi dia juga punya karakter taste tersendiri bagi pecinta kopi. Tapi kalau misalkan hot brew, nah ini banyak sekali metodenya yang bisa dipakai, seperti banyak kita lazim tahu, seperti ada V60, French Press, gitu kan, Vietnam drip dan sebagainya. Tapi ini lebih menggunakan air pada suhu tinggi ya, kisaran 70 sampai 90 derajat Celcius. Nah, nanti kalau misalkan dari karakter rasanya mau dominan, nah nanti itu ada faktor-faktor yang mempengaruhi proses ekstraksi. Salah satunya adalah rasio antara air dan kopinya. Semakin tinggi rasionya itu nanti rasa kopinya itu akan semakin pekat dan sebaliknya. Seperti itu Pak, mungkin.
Baik, terima kasih. Wah, bagus sekali Pak Adi. Ya, I think we have a good answer, clear answer from Mr. Andi. Nurul, I see in the chat there are a lot of questions, and then most of them related to Mrs. Arisa expertise. As you know that Mrs. Arisa, besides he is a copper and laboratory chairman of cocoa, she is also a nutritional expert of coffee and cocoa. So I would like to pass the question in the chat to Mrs. Arisa. Can I pass the discussion or the answer for the chat to Arisa, Nurul?
Yes, sure, Pak Bisnawi. Before that, I would like to ask you 2 questions before we proceed
Okay.
to.
Yeah, before Arisa. I am first,
Yes.
Arisa. Yes.
There's a lot of question in chat box, right? So we're gonna handle one by one because we still have a lot of time until 12 o'clock. Okay, promise?
Yeah. Yeah.
Alright, so first question from me, in average, how long does a panelist can master their ability to conduct the organoleptic evaluations of coffee? That's the first question.
I get the second.
And the second one, can a barista become a trained panelist?
Oh, That's all the question is to Mr. Andi. I think Mr. Andi, but maybe Arisa first to do this, and then let me. I have another guest there. Arisa, would you like to answer? And then after that, the question from Nurul, Andi. Jadi berapa lama seseorang itu bisa menjadi panelis kopi? Kemudian apakah panelis kopi itu bisa di training untuk menjadi expert atau train panelis? Saya kira Mr. Andi itu dapat dapat menjawab. Oke, Nurul ya, let Ibu Arisa, your expertise to answer all the question from the chat room.
Yeah, thank you, Pak Miss. I'm seeing questions about nutrition here. I'm not an expert in nutrition, but I try to focus to narrow down my research in nutrition because the research about flavor has been occupied by other researchers, and they are very good on it. And then I'm seeing a question about gastric, coffee and gastric. Yeah, I have ever compiled some literatures about the effects of drinking coffee to gastric response, and we found that gastric, not coffee, particularly the caffeine, can weaken the ring. We call it sphincter. Sphincter is the ring on just before your stomach, and it weakens because of the active compounds in coffee, and that makes the gastric juice comes out from the stomach and reach your esophagus, upper esophagus channel. So it gets you heartburns and discomforts after drinking coffee. And there's no cure for it. Some people just stop drinking coffee because of the gastric problem, and you cannot treat yourself with antacids every time you drink coffee. So in some cases, you have to just stop and refrain from drinking coffee forever. And then there is also a question about calories content of coffee. So this is the magic of a virtual meeting. I can just search to the Food Data Central from USDA right after the question coming up. So I have checked that the espresso coffee contains less than 10 kilocalories per cup. So you will get more and more calories from sugar and milk and cream. So you can decide whether you want to consume low calorie from coffee or from sugar or milk. I drink also coffee with sugar and milk. But if I have a very good state of mind, I drink plain coffee without sugar. So yes, you can have extra calories from coffee, but if you compare plain coffee to another, I believe you will have some variation, slight variation in calorie value, because the coffee contains oils, and then different types of coffee have different fat content, and different kind of extraction will result in content in coffee. So you will have a slightly various calorie value from different coffee types. And then I saw one question about how many coffee is safe to drink. Which one? In the chat room. And there are some studies trying to find out how much coffee is too much. And the study reports that maximum 4 cups of coffee per day is safe. More than that, it will increase the risk of mortality. So 4 is enough, but if you're in pregnancy, 2 is too much. That is from my OBGYN doctor. So I generally drink 3 cups of coffee per day, and I have to limit myself to 3. Anything else? I
Alright,
think I have answered.
when Ariza, right? So there's a few questions in the chat box from Dian Hartati. Maybe this question was to Pak Musnawi about the roasting of coffee. She said that where is Pak Mis?
Pak Miss has
Having a
another meeting
meeting.
with the people from holding company. So Pak Andi
Oh.
will answer. He is the expert in roasting also. Pak
Alright.
Andi, can you tell us?
So from Dian Hartati, the question is, tingkat kematangan biji kopi apa juga sangat berpengaruh saat roasting dari semua jenis kopi terhadap rasa kopi. So what do you think, Mr. Andi?
Iya, terima kasih. Jelas ya. Untuk yang disampaikan Pak Misnawi tentang roasting walaupun sedikit dia bahwa tingkat kematangan roasting ya atau level itu sangat mempengaruhi cita rasa. Pada umumnya itu pembagian tingkat kematangan kopi itu ada 3. Ada yang disebut dengan light roast, medium roast, and dark roast. Itu secara umum ya, secara umum. Nah, setiap masing-masing punya karakteristik cita rasa yang berbeda walaupun dengan kopi yang sama. Jadi kalau untuk light roast, nah ini kalau untuk light roast, kalau untuk beberapa teman-teman kita ya yang tidak suka kopi yang terlalu kuat, itu sebenarnya bisa mengkonsumsi kopi sangrai pada tingkat kematangan ini. Karena dari segi cita rasa itu lebih dominan ke seperti aroma kacang, seperti aroma nati, atau seperti rasa nati, tapi dengan body yang ringan sekali. Ya, jadi rasa kopi itu nggak begitu terlalu, yang kita bayangkan rasa kopi itu nggak terlalu kuat, jadi seperti aroma atau seperti kita minum teh. Nah ini untuk kandungan senyawa kimianya juga ini banyak diantaranya itu adalah asam klorogenat. Jadi degradasi senyawa asam klorogenat pada saat disangrai sangrai light roast, nah itu dia kandungan asam klorogenatnya masih tinggi. Nah jadi kalau misalkan buat wanita atau perempuan gitu ya, yang memang ingin melangsingkan badannya, nah itu sebenarnya cocok kita konsumsi kopi yang light roast. Apalagi banyak beberapa di negara-negara mungkin seperti di Malaysia atau beberapa di Amerika, itu ada yang menyebutnya sebagai white coffee. Jadi white coffee itu adalah kopi yang diseduh pada tingkat kematangan yang muda ya atau light roast dicampur dengan bahan-bahan tambah lainnya seperti susu. Jadi warnanya itu seperti putih gitu ya, putih kecoklatan. Itu yang disebut dengan light roast. Nah, ada yang kedua namanya medium roast. Nah, jadi kalau untuk penikmat kopi yang ingin merasakan cita rasa kopi seutuhnya, itu standarnya di sini, di medium roast. Tingkat kematangannya, warnanya itu warna seperti coklat ya, coklat muda tapi coklat agak sedikit tua ya, agak sedikit tua seperti itu. Nah, ini dari segi cita rasa, dia tuh berada pada titik yang optimal. Jadi dari segi flavornya, dari segi acidity-nya, dari segi bodinya, dari segi sweetness-nya, ini adalah satu kesatuan cita rasa yang berada pada titik yang optimum dibandingkan yang light roast maupun yang dark roast. Jadi cocok kalau misalkan disangrai pada tingkat sangrai penikmat kopi gitu ya. Misalkan ini baik diseduh menggunakan manual brew seperti V60 dan sebagainya. Nah, tapi yang terakhir ada dark roast. Dark roast ini memang sebenarnya beberapa orang menyebutnya sangrainya, tapi sebenarnya belum sampai ke sana yang disebut dengan dark roast. Tapi memang dari segi warna itu dia juga warnanya sudah kehitaman ya, sudah kehitaman tuh bahasa kita disebutnya bilangnya gosong. Nah, tentunya kalau dari segi cita rasa untuk yang dark dacrose ini dia sudah turun semua, acidity-nya sudah turun, sweetness-nya sudah turun, kemudian flavor-nya sudah turun, bahkan yang muncul adalah bitter-nya, adalah pahitnya. Jadi kalau dari segi taste seperti itu kondisinya. Nah, bukan berarti kualitas rasa yang menurun itu tidak banyak dinikmati oleh orang-orang. Nah, itu banyak. Banyak juga penikmat orang-orang yang suka dacrose karena yang dia cari itu adalah bodinya, kekentalannya yang dia rasakan. Jadi dicampur dengan sedikit gula, jadinya juga bisa kita nikmati cita rasa kopi yang memiliki bodi yang tebal dengan sedikit manis karena tadi dicampur dengan gula. Seperti itu kaitannya antara tingkat sangraian dan cita rasa. Nah, itu tadi secara umum ada 3. Sebenarnya detailnya lagi, nama-nama tingkat sangraian itu juga banyak ya. Mungkin ada yang kenal sebagai Arabic Rose, ya, kemudian ada yang apa namanya City and Full City Rose, Scandinavian Rose, kemudian ada yang disebut dengan Italian Rose atau French Rose gitu ya. Jadi banyak sekali istilahnya yang mungkin kalau dijabarkan tadi sedikit-sedikit itu bisa 1 jam sendiri nanti. Itu terima kasih.
Okay, thank you Mr. Andi. So, as you can see here, ada beberapa soalan yang menanyakan soalan yang sama, which is the side effect of consistent consumption of coffee. So, daripada Puan Ariza ataupun Mr. Andi, so bagaimana dengan soalan jika kita terus meneruskan pengambilan kopi itu dalam side effect consumption?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So thank
that's all.
you. I also had compiled reports about this, and then coffee is generally regarded as safe. It is in a GRAS category of food. So generally
Puan Ariza?
Iya, sepertinya terputus.
Begitulah. Mr. Andi boleh tolong?
Iya, baik. Baik. Jadi kopi ini termasuk salah satu tanaman penyegar. Iya, yang komponen utamanya adalah kafein. Nah, kafein ini sifatnya adalah reaktif. Jadi maksudnya respon terhadap setiap orang itu akan berbeda. Jadi ada beberapa orang, kalau katakanlah di Eropa, dia bisa mengkonsumsi kopi itu per gelasnya 1 hari, itu bisa sampai 10 sampai 20 gelas per hari. Nah, kalau misalkan di Indonesia sendiri, paling rata-rata orang mengkonsumsi kopi hanya 2 sampai 4 gelas per hari. Nah, tapi dari rata-rata konsumsi itu, mungkin ada beberapa orang yang dia bermasalah dengan kesehatannya. Ada juga yang tidak berpengaruh, ada juga yang mendapatkan manfaat yang baik pada dirinya. Nah, itu yang maksudnya saya sebut sebagai reaktif. Jadi, respon terhadap orang itu akan berbeda satu sama lainnya. Nah, untuk kaitannya ini dengan apa namanya efek samping, itu tadi. Jadi nanti sebelum minum kopi perlu diperhatikan terlebih dahulu bahwa kondisi perut itu tidak dalam keadaan kosong. Artinya kalau misalkan mau dikonsumsi di pagi hari, setidaknya sudah sarapan terlebih dahulu, baru minum kopi. Kemudian kalau misalkan malam, ya kalau bisa jangan terlalu malam konsumsi kopinya, nanti malah tidak bisa tidur ya. Makanya jadi beberapa orang yang sering beribadah malam biasanya sajiannya itu adalah kopi. Jadi dia bisa begadang seharian semalaman ya gitu seperti itu. Nah, efeknya terhadap kesehatan sekali lagi seharusnya kopi ini punya dampak manfaat yang luar biasa bagi kesehatan ya. Tapi tadi kalau misalkan dia punya masalah seperti tadi ada yang menyampaikan di pertanyaan seperti masalah lambung gitu ya, atau mungkin jantungnya berdebar-debar. Nah itu kalau ingin mengkonsumsi kopi ada berbagai macam cara alternatifnya. Tadi yang sudah sampaikan seperti saya bilang pertama mengkonsumsi kopi yang disangrai pada kematangan yang light atau light roast itu yang pertama. Kemudian yang kedua ada lagi teknologinya yang namanya disebut dengan dekafeinasi. Kopi dekafeinasi. Jadi kopi yang sudah dihilangkan gitu ya, atau dikurangi kadar kafeinnya. Atau yang ketiga yang mungkin nggak terlalu banyak orang tahu, ini ada yang namanya kopi bening. Kopi bening, apa istilahnya kopi bening ya? Jadi kopi yang tidak berwarna. Nah itu ada ya. Itu ada seperti itu dan itu insya Allah aman buat orang-orang yang mengalami masalah kesehatan gitu ya. Tapi walaupun dia ingin mengkonsumsinya. Ada lagi yang keempat sebenarnya ada caranya, ada tekniknya bagaimana cara menyeduh kopi yang baik agar tidak ada masalah gitu ya dalam diri kita. Misalkan seperti tadi dia masalah di perut atau masalah lambung. Nah, di dalam penyeduhan itu ada yang disebut dengan prosesnya itu ada yang disebut dengan blooming. Nah, tujuan dari blooming ini adalah mengeluarkan gas CO2 yang masih terperangkap di dalam kopi. Jadi pada saat penyeduhan itu kita tidak serta merta diseduh saja menggunakan air panas gitu ya, tapi ada tahapan sebelum itu yang disebut dengan proses blooming. Nah, proses blooming ini yang diharapkan bisa mengeluarkan gas-gas atau senyawa volatil termasuk CO2 yang harapannya ini ketika kita konsumsi itu aman buat lambung atau perut. Itu yang pertama. Kemudian yang kedua dari grain size, dari ukuran partikel ground coffee ini juga sangat berpengaruh. Ya, semakin halus kecenderungan proses ekstraksinya akan semakin tinggi. Jadi kalau untuk yang punya masalah terhadap apa namanya perut, lambung dan sebagainya itu diusahakan pada tingkat gilingan yang kasar dan menggunakan suhu yang rendah, misalkan di suhu 70 atau 80 derajat Celcius dalam penyeduhannya. Nah, ini sangat berpengaruh sekali. Jadi intinya tidak ada alasan untuk tidak mengkonsumsi kopi ya, karena sebenarnya dari kopi itu banyak sekali variabel yang kita bisa sesuaikan sesuai dengan kebutuhan atau keinginan dari customer-nya. Itu.
Alright. Terima kasih Mr. Andi. Mungkin kita boleh jawab beberapa soalan daripada Rashida sebelum kita tamatkan webinar ni. Salam, I have a question. I got interested to most expensive coffee comes from Indonesia, which is Luwak coffee. Is there really big difference in taste and quality of Luwak coffee compared to other coffee that undergo common fermentation of Luwak coffee? So, Mr. Andi boleh tolong jawabkan?
Iya, baik. Mohon maaf sebelumnya tidak terlalu fasih ya untuk ditranslate ke Inggrisnya. Jadi untuk Luwak Coffee sendiri memang dia itu apa ya, seperti jadi kondisinya seperti ini, kondisi sebenarnya. Ya, kenapa sih Luwak Coffee itu harganya mahal? Ya, sebenarnya bukan semata-mata dari cita rasanya, tapi dari proses produksinya yang sedikit. Untuk bisa dapat luwak 1 kilo atau dapat luwak 1 ton kopi, itu kira-kira diperlukan berapa ekor luwak gitu untuk memproduksi sebanyak itu. Jadi pastinya untuk memproduksi kopi luwak itu sangat sedikit sekali, terbatas sekali. Dalam ilmu ekonomi biasanya kalau stok supply-nya sedikit, tentu harganya menjadi mahal, gitu ya. Dan kalau kaitannya dengan cita rasa, nah sebenarnya ini balik lagi tergantung bagaimana cara pengolahannya. Jadi seperti ini, habitat atau kebiasaan luwak itu dia mengeluarkan fasesnya, yaitu biasanya di tempat-tempat yang bersih, rumput yang bersih, batu yang bersih, dan sebagainya. Nah, itu lama-kelamaan kalau tidak segera diambil, itu akan menjadi kering. Jadi kopinya itu masih ada kotoran-kotorannya. Dan ketika itu diproses sampai dari seduh, nah itu yang menyebabkan ada beberapa defek atau cacat cita rasa. Tapi kalau misalkan kopinya itu baru keluar proses dari luar, kemudian kita ambil, kita olah, itu kemungkinan bisa jadi lebih clean rasanya. Tapi kalau misalkan ditangkar, ya kalau misalkan di apa namanya di sangkar gitu ya, atau kita kasih kandang gitu ya, itu juga perlu memperhatikan waktu kapan dia mengeluarkan fases, kapan dia itu harus dikasih makan, karena ketika itu dia di kandang, ya, itu tetap memperhatikan ke apa namanya psikologinya hewan, jangan sampai stres. Justru kalau hewan itu stres, nah itu malah dia nggak mau makan gitu ya. Jadi seperti itu. Nah, intinya kalau misalkan dibandingkan dengan kopi yang diolah selain kopi luwak, itu tidak ada perbedaan ya, tidak ada banyak perbedaan. Dia hanya dari segi proses fermentasi. Nah, proses fermentasi di dalam pengolahan kopi itu ada salah satunya adalah peluruhan lendir, mucilage. Nah, di dalam luwak, di dalam tubuh luwak, di dalam perut luwak, nah proses itulah yang membantu untuk meluruhkan lendir atau pulpnya kopi. Nah, di situ juga terjadi proses secara enzimatik yang membantu meningkatkan cita rasa kopi. Jadi ya seperti itu. Nah, tadi akhirnya tapi setelah proses itu keluar, nah itu juga jadi poin penting. Jadi titik kritisnya bahwa ini kopi bisa dapat cita rasa yang bagus atau tidak. Nah, itu pada saat proses keluar. Kalau misalkan proses baru keluar kemudian kita ambil, kemudian kita cuci bersih, nah itu ada jaminan setidaknya cita rasa yang nanti timbul itu akan lebih clean, lebih baik dibandingin olahan yang biasanya gitu. Jadi jangan sampai prosesnya itu kering di dalam bersama dengan bijinya. itu yang jadi bahaya gitu ya. Itu yang menjadi poin apa ya berkurangnya poin penilaian dalam hal cita rasa gitu. Karena biasanya untuk kopi luwak yang masih ada fasesnya yang kering bersama kopinya, itu aroma-aroma seperti woody, kemudian earthy, itu akan muncul di kopi luwak. Itu, terima kasih.
Baik, Mr. Andi. So, mungkin kita boleh pergi kepada soalan yang terakhir daripada Nur Arifandi to everyone. I have a question. There is a concern to process coffee using wine culture as well as wine-like processing. Is that a process really necessary to produce a high quality of coffee? So, mungkin Mr. Andi boleh tolong? Mungkin mungkin ini yang soalan terakhir.
Oke, thank you, Sarah. Oke, thank you, Mr. Arifandi. Menggunakan apa namanya proses pengolahan seperti wine gitu. Nah, ini kondisinya di Indonesia sekarang sedang booming ya. Proses pengolahan kopi yang mirip seperti dengan pengolahan wine. Tapi perlu digarisbawahi bahwa kopi dan anggur untuk produksi wine gitu ya, itu adalah dua komoditas yang berbeda yang kita pahami gitu ya. Walaupun kopi diolah prosesnya seperti pengolahan wine gitu ya, tapi itu tidak serta-merta hasilnya seperti wine pada anggur gitu ya. Justru kalau misalkan tidak diolah dengan baik, hasilnya adalah untuk proses wine ini adalah kopinya bisa jadi berjamur. Kopinya bisa jadi busuk. Sehingga kalau busuk kopi berjamur ya bukan lagi wine gitu ya, tapi kopi berjamur atau kopi berbau busuk gitu. Nah, sehingga memang kalau untuk di kopi, kalau misalkan mau diolah seperti wine, itu harus ada kehati-hatian dalam proses pengolahannya. Setidaknya tadi diharapkan tidak ada jamur yang tumbuh, ataupun yang kedua adalah tidak membusuk. Nah, caranya bagaimana? Di Indonesia itu banyak sekali pengolah olahan wine ya dengan cara yang unik yang disebut dengan cara aerob dan anaerob. Nah, cara yang aerob seperti ini biasanya buah kopi atau cherry ya, dia itu dikeringkan di dalam satu wadah yang tertutup. Biasanya ini dikeringkan di dalam rumah pengering. Di dalam rumah pengering dalam kondisi yang tertutup, steril gitu ya. Kemudian air yang ada di buah itu bisa terkendali. Nah, ini dijemur sampai kering. Ini yang disebut dengan proses wine yang aerob. Ada lagi yang anaerob. Nah, anaerob ini dia memang buahnya ini diperam di dalam satu wadah kondisi tertentu, tapi tidak terkontaminasi dengan udara. Sehingga benar-benar gas yang dihasilkan pada saat proses pemeraman inilah yang nanti mempertahankan rasanya. Sehingga tidak ada kontaminasi seperti jamur gitu ya, itu yang masuk ke dalam buah kopinya. Nah, ini di proses pemeramannya bisa ada yang 1 bulan, ada yang 2 bulan, bahkan ada yang 3 bulan diperam. Tapi dari hasil buah cerinya, dia itu tidak busuk, tapi hanya berwarna coklatan saja. Jadi dari buahnya itu tidak terlalu kisut, tidak terlalu keriput, ya. Dia hanya kehilangan air saja. Nah, itu salah satu ciri proses wine yang baik untuk kopi. Nah, daerah di Indonesia yang sudah baik dalam proses pengolahan wine kopi yang paling terkenal itu adalah dari Bandung, Jawa Barat. Jadi nanti kalau misalkan datang ke Jawa Barat gitu ya, ke penghasil kopi di sana banyak sekali petani atau prosesor yang mengolah kopi wine seperti itu. Terima kasih.
Alright, terima kasih Mr. Andi dan juga Puan Ariza. So, kita back to moderator Ivan. Are you still there?
Yes.
Alright.
Sorry everyone for the bad. And for your information, other questions will be answered at the Telegram group. All right. On behalf of everyone here, I would like to thank Dr. Insigne Misnawi for his insightful sharing, which in fact is the highlight of this morning. Hopefully, the feeling and knowledge shared can benefit all of us. Before we provide the attendance link for your e-certificate, I would like to request to all participants to turn on the camera for the photography session.
Okay, I will start the photography session. Everyone, please turn on your camera. Okay, first style. Ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay. Next, we go to the second tile. 1, 2, 3. Third tile, 1, 2, 3. Next tile, 1, 2, 3. Okay, last tile. Okay, done.
Right, Ivan, you still there?
Yes.
All right.
Okay. Before we end our event this morning, I would like to invite all students to agree to a competition titled Digging into Food Science or DIFS. Often when asked what food technology is, many are still confused to answer, including students in the field itself. By joining and collaborating with the lecturer to produce a video on practical knowledge in food technology laboratories, we can reveal what we have learned and also how widespread the field of food science and technology actually is. In addition, as the YouTube platform can be accessed by anyone, the program can foster and attract school students to learn more about food science and technology, hence the hashtag Future Food Scientist to Society. Who knows, you might be the reason someone dreams to be a food scientist one day. Worry not, the submission will be on the 28th of February, meaning that you will have plenty of time to complete the video before the submission. Not only that, winners of this competition will be awarded a cash prize of 200 ringgit from Pertema, followed by second place that will win 150 ringgit and third place 100 ringgit. So, anyone interested in participating in our DIFS video competition can contact any Pertema committee for any inquiries. But you not might not but you might not want to be late. Last day to register is on 31st January, which is 2 weeks from now. Therefore, grab your friends with a maximum of 4 students for each group and register now. Otherwise, you can also follow our Instagram at pertema_UITMSA for latest updates. Thank you everyone for your cooperation. We have provided the attendance form link in the chat box. Together with the form, you will receive a feedback survey on the webinar session, and we would appreciate if you would complete that and provide your comment. The e-certificate is only applicable to those who had attended and completed the attendance form, so don't forget to submit. As the saying goes, to every beginning there is an ending, and now the webinar has come to its end. Once again, thank you everyone for gracing our webinar today with your presence. To Dr. Miss Nawi, Mr. Andy, Miss Ariza, we are really grateful to have you with us. Thank you for your time and effort. We truly appreciate it. On behalf of the organizing committees, I would like to apologize if we have done any mistakes throughout the event. That is all for today. Have a great rest of your day and stay safe.
Thank you, everyone. Have a good day and stay safe. Thank you. Thank you to all participants. Stay safe, everyone. Thank you so much. you. Stay safe too. AJK, please stay until every participant. Okay?